Let me just share this with you, wishing you a safe, sane, and soulful new year. Making our way slowly to Christmas and poised on the edge of a new year, some among us are waiting for the big fella to deliver the goods and make everything okay. And some are expecting Santa too. See what I did there? It's at this point I realized that's for Hugh. It's at this point I realized my dear editor doesn't allow emojis to drive home labored and contrived jokes like this. So I'll move swiftly on, as people often say when covering their tracks and embarrassment. The amount of times you hear that, right? As well as, can you hear me at the back? Is this thing on? And moving swiftly on. Talking of 2025, which we could call the we'll see year, with so many promises, conflicts, and uncertainties hanging in the air and forming the future. I'd like to talk today about my day job. Yes, the Good Morning Portugal show and community. I'm looking forward to another year of making something of a living, eking out a humble living, Governor. Thank you very much for the Christmas box. Celebrating life in this special country on a daily basis. That's what we do here, in case you hadn't noticed, with a whole host of other co-hosts who tend to share my affection and delight. I have some bold plans to put into action as we hit the ground running and take to the airways in January, about which I would appreciate your opinions and counsel. That means you as well watching this morning. So let me know what you think about this. Apart from Peter, no, you can, Pete. Nicely, wild and friendly. Do you remember what Tamakatan was saying? In case you didn't know, Good Morning Portugal Endeavour began as a podcast soon after our arrival in 2017, which takes me back to some earlier comments here in the chat here. I think it was Coach Turner, wasn't it, who pointed out that James even has his own Bible, or his own version of the Bible. Oh, and some excellent dentistry-based dad jokes from Pete as well. Let me do those before I forget. Yes, you have your own Bible, James, to which James replied, I'm old enough to have done that translation. Very good. I'm not the old guy in Europe for nothing, he says. And yes, talking of James's trip to the dentist, as we suddenly are, as a little bit of a deviation from the article I'm trying to read to you. James, when I saw my dentist, he won a small reward. He has a little plaque. There you go. That's more like it, Pete. There's the Peter we know and love. He went on to tell me before becoming a dentist, he used to be in the army. He was a drill sergeant. Oh, dear. Where is the groan sound effect? Right. Okay. Back to the article then. Oh, Jackie, I was going to call you Jackie Christmas there. Jackie's in with a happy Christmas Eve for everybody. Late arrival due to bakery queues. Oh, I see. Okay. Right. James, it is toxic to pigs. They die if they eat it. I think we understand what toxic means there. Right, okay, back to the article then. So we began in 2017, all that time ago, when my wife Lucia and I, along with our then two youngest children, we've had another one here, of course, were finding our feet and sharing our experiences with anyone who would listen. As the 2020 pandemic lockdown cast its shadow over our lives here, I thought a daily live stream, this is the origin of the Good Morning Portugal show, of course. I thought a daily live stream for English language speakers might be a useful lifeline, which proved to be true. And it's not stopped since, as it turns out. Nearly 5 years later, it's my continued pleasure to serve expats and foreigners living in Portugal, as well as those looking to move here, with a daily dose of upbeat and positive information and guests. What began as a state of emergency focal point evolved into a how-to show for would-be migrants to Portugal, and in 2025 will transform again. Next year, what I've always thought of as a breakfast show will have even more snap, crackle, and pop as we start earlier at 8 o'clock. Yes, we're going to be starting at 8 in the morning. Now, that obviously will, it might be a bit of a Marmite choice. For some people, it's like, oh, no, I'm not awake by then. For other people, it's going to be like, yes, where I get up at 6, and it's a long time until 9 o'clock when the Good Morning Portugal show starts. And I like to get out and do a few errands at 9 o'clock. So we're going to try it. We're going to try with an 8 o'clock start, 8 till 9, live and direct from my kitchen to yours, which I'm testing at the moment, in case you hadn't noticed, with Mrs. M walking about in the background, with the best of a full English fun and a continental smorgasbord of useful lifestyle information shared by special guests, new and old. For the new year, and yes, one of possible alien disclosure, deepening geopolitical hoo-ha, and prolonged economic uncertainty, I promise you now that I'll be focusing mainly on the joys of living in Portugal and the lighter side of life in general, with the hope of putting a smile on viewers and listeners' faces wherever they live in the world. An hour of anyone's time has always been a big ask for anyone other than the Gumper regulars. Yes, you know who you are, and thank you very much. If you're here for an hour most mornings, I really appreciate that. But I know, again, that's not everyone's cup of tea. So with time preciousness in mind, I'll be dedicating the first 20 minutes of each morning edition to a quick blast of news, weather, some Portuguese language support, there you go, and a smattering of health and well-being, picking up the baton of, I'm going to be grabbing your baton, Coach Turner, and we'll be broadening the God Squad tip of the day, taking what you do, of course, as long as you want to give it to us, and adding to that other little bits of health and well-being input as well. This, the Portugal Primer, if you like, working title, can be consumed alone. So that'll be a little bit of a 20-minute blast to start the day. And you may like to stick around then. And of course, we'll continue. You can either watch the live stream, listen to the podcast, or watch it later on replay on YouTube. And if you want to stay on after the Portugal Primer, which I hope you will, of course, I'll have two guests of the morning as the optional extras who you can also enjoy if you hang out with us, or again, on replay if you wish. So 3, possibly 2 distinct segments of the show then from January. The Portugal Primer with the news, weather, the Portuguese language and culture bit, and the health and well-being. And then our 2 guest slots, and you're used to that, having 2 guests on the show. Now, some of those will cross over. Some of them can't bear to be in the same room as each other. So only joking. We all get on just fine on screen and off. But sometimes it's better to have, a distinct section, 20 minutes, and then another 20 minutes. But others, a bit like, for example, Carl Hyde and Veronica, together for the last 20 minutes of the show. Let me just say here as well, the GMP crew are an extraordinary bunch of people, too numerous and encyclopedic in capability to catalogue here, who cover everything from the expat experience, Portuguese real estate, homesteading and growing your own food and drink, and pretty much every other aspect of Portuguese life from a foreigner's perspective, with a growing number of Portuguese presenters in there too. On that note, if you feel we are missing a useful angle or vital person from our lineup, just let me know and I'll do my best to include them. So, if you think there's anyone missing from the lineup, just send me a line. Drop me a line and I will. Don't send me a line. Please. That could get all of us in a lot of trouble. Drop me a line, and I will do my best to include them on the show. So is it going to be 8 till 9 or 8 till 10? 8 till 9, Pam! 3 lots of 20 minutes, roughly speaking. You know me, I'm not the best timekeeper in all of the world. But thereabouts, starting at around 8, finishing at around 9, and with 3 approximately 20-minute sections there. Okay. Is Pete still going on about Chase? Come on, I think we can work together on this. I don't know. Have you had your meds today yet, Pete? Right. As well as our morning show, we'll be also continuing with our Tuesday evening online meetup, aka the Portugal Club, where the wider community of listeners can join some of the co-hosts in a more informal environment to compare notes, troubleshoot any challenges, and share significant milestones from their great Portuguese adventure. This sort of access and sharing is invaluable to newcomers and expat veterans alike who want some company and connection on a regular and easygoing basis. Tell us, James, what your experiences of the Tuesday night gathering. So we get, I mean, some of you might not even realize that, but on a Tuesday evening, we have a bit of a social, which is part of the package. If you're a supporter of what we do here at GMP VIP, that's all part of the package, as well as all the resources over at our school platform. Members of the Portugal Club can also access that, the GMP VIP private social network, beyond shows and between meetups, as another useful resource for information, inspiration, and support. So one way or another, I trust Good Morning is not only a positive and helpful start to your day, but also an enriching on-demand addition to living a fulfilling life in Portugal. At the outset of sharing all of this with you, I mentioned the possibility and potential of having your eyeballs on my ideas and I'm sincere in that request. In many ways, The Breakfast Show is intended to be a public service broadcast at its best, and I do my utmost to make it useful without the necessary commerciality of structure or of our structure undermining our independence and objectivity. So it's quite a fine balance to call that. And it's best made by you, the consumers of this service, which I welcome that input should you wish to share any of it with me. So I don't know if that made any sense, but I'm trying to bring a public service to you without it being overly commercialized, but it does need to be commercial. You know, do need to make something of a living from this. This is my main thing, with all its affiliate connections and so on. And you'll get a sense of how you can support us from the homepage at the moment. If you scroll past the advent calendar, and we'll be opening the 24 window in just a moment, but you'll see all the ways by helping yourself, you can help us too, as the Good Morning Portugal business, if you like. But I want to get a balance right. I was writing yesterday about how clunky it is on a YouTube video when you've been played a little bit with a clickbaity title and somebody going, "My last day in Portugal," as a clickbait title. Oh, it was only my last day in Portugal before I went on holiday to Spain. And then while I'm here, and before we get started, could I just mention the VPN that you probably already have or don't really want? It's that kind of clunkiness that I know people have to do, but I don't want it to be like that every morning here on the Good Morning Portugal show. I think you understand the point I'm trying to make there is that we need to make a living. We need to keep our face clean, and we'd like to grow, but I don't want to be banging on about it all the time. So if you do want to support us, you can do that over on many of the ways that are serving suggestions on the homepage. The best and most basic compliment any of us who take part in the shows and share information can hope for is your attention. Beyond that, your comments and contributions really create a rich picture of collaboration and true community. So if you have tuned in and taken part this year, I thank and appreciate you, and wish you the best of Christmases and the most fulfilling of New Year's. A greeting, of course, I also issue fondly to anyone who's read my work in the Portugal Resident as well. If you haven't dropped by yet, please join us in 2025, which will no doubt gather hype and hysteria-driven momentum like a time of year appropriate snowball. It's going to be an interesting one, isn't it? 2025. Let's face it. Let's base it as well. The we'll see year. I don't think anyone knows anything. There's such a great air of uncertainty, and I think people are going to freak out. People are going to respond in all kind of funny ways in this coming year. So I think we have to double down and work a little bit harder to be sane, safe, and soulful. So that is my wish. Come find us beyond the anxious noise and the shrill calls for your precious attention, where we'll be doing our best to do exactly that, offer the safe, sane, and soulful start to the day to make your days in Portugal as wonderful and fulfilling as you might dream them to be. Let's not forget our dreams. Let's not forget how great life actually is underneath all this noise and hysteria that seems to grow on a daily basis, while the world at large keeps spinning in its own crazy way. And I don't think there's anything we can do about that, folks, except to have a little bit of our own quiet community niche here on Good Morning Portugal as we continue into 2025. So thank you for letting me share that with you.